Welcome back to our channel where we share updates and untold stories about Catherine, Princess of Wales, and her royal family. Today we bring you some news. Royal family in chaos after Harry and Meghan's new move to dig to pregnancy in Bombshell book. According to an insider source, Meghan Markle claimed that she is getting ready to unleash her most deadly strike yet on the British royal family, which will include weaponizing the very existence of her children, including Archie, who is her eldest child. Nevertheless, sources inside the palace, as well as medical professionals, have revealed that her intended bombshell, which is a narrative of being forced into prenatal testing, is not a story of victimization, but rather a common medical reality for millions of women nationwide. The fundamental question is, why is that? And it is possible that the solution lies in a far more sinister plot, a double bluff that is aimed at diverting attention away from the explosive truth of how her children really came into the world. The final betrayal of the crown, Meghan's secret pregnancy war, and the conspiracy that has the potential to overthrow a dynasty. Neither the Sussexes nor the Windsors are just firing another shot in the ongoing verbal conflict that spans the Atlantic Ocean between them. According to explosive new reports, this is a calculated strike aimed at the very heart of the monarchy's mystique, its bloodline, its history, and the memory of its late matriarch, Queen Elizabeth II. An insider account, first broken by tabloid reporter Matthew Acton, alleges that the Duchess of Sussex is carefully curating a narrative for a future memoir, one in which she was a terrified mother-to-be, singled out and haunted by a cold, calculating firm that demanded her unborn child be scanned for disabilities. The purpose of the assertion is to shock, to present an image of an organization that is particularly brutal and antiquated, and that is preoccupied with maintaining genetic purity. However, by doing so, it may have resulted in a disastrous backfire, revealing not royal cruelty, but rather a fundamental and maybe intentional misunderstanding of medical science and British etiquette. In addition, it may have unwittingly brought to light the same questions that she has been working so hard to keep hidden about her pregnancies. Ghosts that are located in the gene pool. A walk back into the shadowy halls of the royal past, into a world when the purity of the lineage was of the utmost importance, is necessary in order to comprehend the seriousness of Meghan's purported complaint. Throughout the course of many centuries, the major royal families of Europe functioned as a singularly compact and interdependent ecosystem. The compulsion to marry for political alignment, rather than love or genetic variety, resulted in the creation of a gene pool that was dangerously thin. She was a carrier of hemophilia, also known as the royal disease, which she passed down through her descendants. This disease plagued the thrones of Spain, Germany, and most famously, Russia, where the condition of the afflicted Tsarevich Alexei contributed to the downfall of the Romanov dynasty. Queen Victoria, also known as the Grandmother of Europe, was a royal figure. This does not belong to the past. Rather, it is the genetic ghost that continues to prowl about the House of Windsor even in modern times. It has been reported by those with knowledge of the situation that Meghan was informed that all women who marry into the royal family are required to have chromosomal abnormality testing on their unborn children. The explanation that was given was that the family had a little-known history of producing deformed children. This is a reference to tragedies that the monarchy has spent centuries attempting to forget, and it was carefully cleaned. Most notably, the Queen Mother's nieces, Nerissa and Catherine Bowes-Lyon, who were first cousins to Queen Elizabeth II, were born with severe learning difficulties and were secretly institutionalized in 1941. They were publicly listed as deceased in Burke's peerage, and their existence was almost completely erased from the official record. The discovery of their narrative in the 1980s was a great shame, a sharp reminder of a less enlightened past, and a striking reminder of the enormous pressure that existed inside the family to project an image of pristine perfection. As a result of this historical backdrop, extensive prenatal screening is not an act of targeted cruelty, but rather an act of significant institutional responsibility, according to monarchical historians. Given the advancements in medical research that have occurred in the 21st century, it would be considered a breach of duty to fail to make use of all of the tools that are now available in order to guarantee the health of a future heir. According to the person that was referenced in the story, Meghan was not thrilled with having to submit to it, but it was non-negotiable. This kind of framing is an effort to portray a prudent medical process as an oppressive royal mandate. Nevertheless, the story falls apart when subjected to even the most fundamental inspection. Meghan Markle was 37 years old when she became pregnant with Archie. She was expecting their first child. Because of this, her pregnancy is considered to be geriatric in the United Kingdom, as it is in the majority of industrialized countries throughout the globe. This is a word that, although being clinically obsolete, indicates a higher statistical risk of chromosomal abnormalities such as Down syndrome. As a consequence of this, the National Health Service, NHS, provides full screening for all expecting women who are over the age of 35, and highly advises that they get it. Observing this protocol is the norm. It is a common occurrence. A woman who was born into the British nobility and was prepared for her duty as a royal would have been subjected to the exact same battery of exams as George, Charlotte, and Louis. Catherine, the Princess of Wales, would have been evaluated in the same manner. For Meghan to cast this normal medical treatment as a particular burden imposed upon her is, in the words of royal historian Angela Levin, nuts. It is, she maintains, grasping at straws now to try and claim that the royal family was in some way targeting her. The gap that this indicates in terms of psychology is enormous. These tests are a gift of modern medicine that every woman who is expecting a child would consider to be a method to prepare, to comprehend, and to guarantee that her kid would have the best possible result. The narrative that Meghan is supposedly developing, on the other hand, twists this comfort into a kind of persecution. According to Levin, this is consistent with a well-established pattern of behavior. Are you able to conceive of a scenario in which they did not intentionally put Meghan through that because it was Meghan? She suggests. After that, she would ask, why could they not have done it? With the intention of hurting me, they accomplished it. This is indicative of a mentality that is always looking for anything to complain about, as well as an incapacity to live outside of the hero-victim dynamic. According to this interpretation, the institution is incapable of ever doing what is right. Recasting its worry as control and its thoroughness as discrimination are two of its recastings. Is it a master's deception, or was it the victim's own recounting? The tale of the forced scans, on the other hand, could be more than simply another complaint that belongs in the litany of troubles that Sussex has to offer. This entire narrative is a sophisticated double bluff, a preemptive strike designed to muddy the waters around the persistent and deeply damaging rumors that have swirled around Archie's birth from the very beginning. This is because some seasoned royal watchers are now floating a much more Machiavellian theory, which is that this entire narrative is a preemptive strike. To put it more frankly, a sizable and outspoken group of web academics and royal skeptics have been questioning for a considerable amount of time whether or not Meghan Markle carried her children during the pregnancy. This is the controversial phantom pregnancy idea, which proposes that the children were delivered via the use of a surrogate, and that Meghan used a prosthesis known as a moon bump for public appearances. The hypothesis has been fueled by a number of atypical decisions and apparent discrepancies made by the Sussexes themselves, despite the fact that the mainstream press has rejected it as a monstrous plot. A moment of public communion that both Princess Diana and Princess Catherine had faithfully performed, the usual post-birth photo call on the steps of the Lindo wing at St. Mary's Hospital, was something that they declined to participate in, which was a departure from decades of precedent. Instead, They decided to take advantage of a very controlled and prearranged picture opportunity that was available inside Windsor Castle a few days later. Buckingham Palace made the first declaration that the Duchess was in labor hours after she had actually given birth, which was another uncommon aspect of the formal birth announcement. A void was formed as a result of this stringent control over information and this divergence from the standards that had been established, and there was a sudden influx of distrust into that void. Observers combed over images, evaluating the shifting size and form of Meghan's baby bump, and putting together movies that they claimed showed the baby bulge folding or sliding in an unusual manner. If it were ever shown that this idea was accurate, the repercussions for the monarchy would be nothing short of unprecedentedly disastrous. According to the stringent rules of succession, an heir must be a direct biological descendant of the monarch's body in order to be eligible for the position. This would result in the largest constitutional crisis that has occurred since Edward VIII abdicated in 1936. In the event that Archie and Lilibet were to be born to a surrogate, they would be removed from the line of succession immediately, and the removal would be permanent. His offspring would not be eligible to inherit the monarchy, but Prince Harry's position would continue to be in place. The Crown and the people of the United Kingdom would be the victims of a scam that would be of a magnitude that is almost unfathomable. The reported tale that Meghan told regarding prenatal scans takes on a disturbing new dimension when seen through this window of perspective. As one analyst pointed out, Meghan's decision to craftily put out a narrative like this, claiming that she was submitting to all of the impairment scans and the medical tests that the British royal family required before the delivery, is an excellent method to dispel the rumors that she is using a surrogate mother. It establishes a strong picture in the public consciousness. Meghan, present in a doctor's office, her body subjected to the intimate probes and scans that are associated with pregnancy. This is a tremendous work of deception, an effort to make a record of a pregnancy that skeptics say never occurred. It is an attempt to establish a record of a pregnancy that never occurred. In accordance with the thesis, it is a deliberate deception that is intended to cover a more significant deception. Rather than implying that the person is a naive victim, this approach shows that they are a sophisticated and strategic player who is eager to influence public opinion at any cost. The reckoning in Hollywood style. During the time that Meghan is supposedly preparing her story of victimhood, the earth in her own Hollywood garden is starting to shift under her feet. A flood of suspicion and downright contempt from mainstream entertainment personalities has replaced the first surge of compassion that welcomed the Sussexes upon their arrival in the United States. This wave has now reached its peak and is gradually receding. As the weight of her own perceived inauthenticity continues to bear down on her, the carefully created image of a courageous and progressive duchess who left a racist and collapsing institution is continuing to crumble. Billy Bush, a prominent figure in American entertainment journalism and a former host of the television shows Today and Access Hollywood, was responsible for a significant turning point in this shift in the political landscape. In a scathing monologue that aired on his new program, Bush completely destroyed the reputation that Meghan had created over the course of many years. "Please refrain from awarding her with accolades for being the most powerful woman," he urged. "You are not a lady with great potential." In a direct challenge to her story of business success, he pointed to her canceled show on Spotify. "You married a man," he questioned her. "You are not an entrepreneur. The answer is no." The performance was horrifying. "It is no longer going to happen. If you are genuine, I will be the first person to embrace you. The version that you are trying to force down people's throats is not you. Be yourself." The criticism that Bush has provided is very destructive, because it does not originate from the British tabloid press or a dissatisfied royal courtier. Rather, it comes from the very core of the American media system that she is so fervently attempting to subjugate. This indicates that the story is no longer supported by the evidence. Her carefully curated anecdotes, such as the story of her writing letters to a soap company when she was 11 years old, her time spent doing calligraphy for celebrity weddings while wearing a white tube sock on her hand to prevent smudging, and her first job at a frozen yogurt shop have been repeated so many times that they have lost all of their impact. They sound less like charming personal history and more like stale talking points from a media training session. According to the words of one reviewer, they are small bites that are used to fill an empty interior, but they do not provide any actual warmth or emotional connection. Another factor that contributes to the impression that she is a created character is the fact that, over the course of the last 10 years, her speaking voice has undergone a discernible and intentional transformation. Her voice has gotten deeper and more measured, adopting a bizarre, placeless accent that floats somewhere between that of an American newscaster and that of exaggerated British monarchy, according to an analysis that compares her interviews from her time as an actor on the program Suits to her recent appearances. According to the observation of a commenter on the internet, this lady has no concept of who she truly is. A performance and a facade are both present in everything. She is, in the opinion of Angela Levin, a character actor who never stops playing. I would love for her to be simply genuine for 90 seconds, but I do not believe she is capable of doing that. According to Levin, she acts in a manner that is consistent with what she perceives the setting that she is in to be. Open the drapes, we are in the third scene. Furthermore, she begins to make statements about herself, all of which are completely false. An approach based on chaos. This unraveling of her public image is being accelerated by a public relations strategy that insiders have described in the most brutal terms. Insane, thoughtless, and directionless. The initial, carefully planned post-royal launch, with its landmark Oprah interview and multi-million-dollar Netflix and Spotify deals, has given way to a chaotic flurry of activity that seems to have no overarching goal other than to keep the Sussex brand in the headlines. During an interview with the Daily Mail, a reliable insider created a picture of a squad that was in a state of disorder. According to the information from the source, her public relations staff is basically throwing her out there in an optimistic manner without a strategy. What they are doing is tossing spaghetti against the wall and seeing what sticks. There is no strategy involved in this situation. This flood the zone tactic is baffling to public relations specialists who have years of experience. At some point in the future, Meghan will be putting herself on display in the world of high fashion at a presentation in Paris. Washington, District of Columbia, is her next stop. Despite the fact that she had nothing to launch, nothing to announce, and nothing to say, the source noted, she was attempting to brand herself as a major female founder and entrepreneur at a summit hosted by Fortune magazine. This approach is considered to be fundamentally damaging, as it dilutes her brand and reveals a desperate need for relevance. The source continued by saying, "I do not see why she would do a magazine cover when she has nothing coming out," referring to the topic at hand. It is clear that either she is not receiving the appropriate advice, or she is not paying attention to what someone is saying to her. Many people who have followed her career are of the opinion that the second explanation is the more plausible one. As a result of the Sussexes' marriage, they have seen a high rate of staff turnover, which is indicative of a principal who is famously difficult to manage. The experts now say that it is no longer possible to pin responsibility on a succession of consultants who come and go repeatedly. These are Meghan's plans of action. The lack of direction, the continual reinventions, and the public actions that she has taken are all clear reflections of the decisions that she has made in the past. In light of the fact that the position of working royal has been abandoned, she is a lady who does not have a product and a brand that does not have a fundamental identity. She is frantic to find a job that is suitable for her. According to many who are critical of her, the issue is that since she left Britain, the only continuous thing that she has supplied to the world is grudges, and it is a product that is experiencing a market share that is fast decreasing. The discovering of unique personality. A subject of great public scrutiny and curiosity, The gap between the character that Meghan creates and the reality that is recorded on camera has been a cause of tension between the two. She recently told an audience that during her 5 years at home, particularly during the pandemic, she was probably in Birkenstocks and sweats like the rest of us, not running around wearing beautiful outfits. This statement was immediately juxtaposed by online sleuths with a montage of photographs from that exact period, showing her in a succession of meticulously styled, eye-wateringly expensive designer ensembles for public appearances, video calls, and photo shoots. To quote a pundit who expressed it in a straightforward manner, it was simply another falsehood. Her public displays of emotion are also part of this pattern of apparent dishonesty that she has shown. Some of her detractors point to instances of what they refer to as fake sobbing, in which she seems to be acting out an expression of sadness for the cameras. Levin gives a disdainful description of the situation, saying, "She wants the cameraman to snap her picture. You know, it is not real, you know, dab, 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 you know." Due to the fact that she is an actress, she is able to do it without any hesitation. Her interactions with Prince Harry are also subject to this in-depth study. One moment she is seen affectionately kissing him for the cameras, and the next she is seen pushing him away or ignoring him, leaving him looking, as one observer put it, incredibly unhappy. The public performance of a perfect marriage feels increasingly strained, such as in another scene in a play that has been running for a long time, and the actors appear to be forgetting their lines. The continually changing narrative, the chaotic public relations, and the apparent lack of authenticity are all contributing to the creation of a feedback loop of skepticism across the whole organization. One's perception of her as manipulative increases in proportion to the degree to which she attempts to exert control over her image. The more she articulates the truth, the less people believe what she has to say. She has now become the unreliable narrator of her own life narrative, according to the perceptions of an increasing number of members of the general public. Because of this, the possibility of writing another memoir, even one that is based on a complaint that is as plainly weak as the narrative about prenatal testing, is a high-risk bet. It is possible that they will not see it as the courageous truth-telling that she wants, but rather as the frantic last act of a performer who has exhausted all of their fresh material. Monarchy on the verge of forming. In the end, the personal fortunes of the Duke and Duchess of Sussex are not the only thing at risk in this developing story. The stakes stretch well beyond all of that. The entire stability and viability of the British monarchy itself is at stake in these discussions. Should Meghan proceed with publishing her account of the forced scans, it will be interpreted as a direct and deeply personal attack on the late Queen Elizabeth II and the now King Charles III. It will be seen as an attempt to posthumously paint the beloved monarch as a callous eugenicist, further poisoning relations to a point from which there can be no return. The fact that she has chosen to dispute the circumstances surrounding her pregnancy in public poses an even greater risk, since she runs the risk of lending mainstream legitimacy to the same theories that she may be attempting to dispel. The principle of double bluff draws attention to the dangerous game that she is now playing. In an effort to make a point against the royal family, she is bringing the validity of her own children's position in the line of succession to the attention of the general people. The recurrence of these doubts is corrosive, regardless of whether they are founded on reality or fantasy. They establish a seed of doubt that has the potential to develop into a full-blown crisis over the election of a successor for a subsequent generation. Law is not the only source of power for a monarchy. Popular belief and the allure of an uninterrupted dynasty are other important factors. By making the origins of her children a public spectacle and a source of conflict, Meghan is taking a risk with the fundamental ideals that underpin the institution that she married into. In the course of its history, the House of Windsor has endured wars, abdications, and scandals. In order to survive, it has adapted, and it has realized that its continued existence is contingent upon striking a delicate balance between tradition and modernity, as well as between mystique and civic obligation. According to reports, Meghan Markle is ready to deliver a narrative that has the potential to upset that equilibrium. It is a story that seems to have sprung from a personal grudge, but it also brings with it the possibility of constitutional upheaval. In doing so, she may be lighting fire to the last surviving bridges, leaving not just herself, but perhaps the future of the monarchy adrift in the ashes. This is a last and desperate effort to control a tale that has long ago spun out of her hands, and she is doing so in an attempt to control it. Thank you for watching the video. Please let us know your thoughts, and goodbye for now.